Hi everyone, Jordan Bateman here. Thanks for listening to this special edition of the BC Poly Hot Stove. This was our live post-game show held on Twitter Spaces immediately following the November 22nd BC Liberal leadership debate. Throughout the show, McLean and I were joined by interim BC Liberal leader Shirley Bond and 5 of the debate candidates, Ellis Ross, Michael Lee, Gavin Dew, Renee Merrifield, and Val Litwin. Thanks for listening, and happy politics. Hello everyone. Welcome to our post-debate show. McLean is on his way in. It's always like the last one to come in. You know how it is. But what can you say? That was interesting. Didn't have pile-on Ellis Ross on my bingo card for tonight's debate, but that is very much where we headed. Very intriguing to see that was... that was the outcome. That tells you a few things about the race that will be interesting to explore with the candidates as we go. I see McLean has popped in. I'm going to invite him to co-host.
Hello.
McLean.
I am here.
We are live. They are populating our room as we speak. And McLean, did you have everyone pile on Ellis Ross on your bingo card for tonight?
No.
Or...
Absolutely not. That was completely unexpected. I was remembering back last debate rather, when we were sort of talking beforehand. Well, how do you think it'll go? And I thought that it'll be very sort of, not gentlemanly, but friendly and collegial. And it really wasn't. And we got that one wrong. And this week I thought the focus would be on the front runner, or at least the perceived front runner, and Kevin Falcon. And man, that just didn't happen.
No, if Falcon skated through this thing, like if you're in the Falcon campaign after that last debate, compared to this one, you just must be dancing in the street, because I'm not sure Falcon took a single gloved punch. Like it was very tame for him. And for a large part, there's that 15-minute section where all the candidates, except for Kevin, really went in on Ellis Ross on the climate change issue. It was a fascinating to see how quickly this has morphed, debate to debate. So like the political operative in me says, clearly Ellis must have some momentum if that's why these other candidates felt like they needed to, explore his views somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, there'd be no reason whatsoever if their intel had Ellis at 5% or so. There's absolutely no point going there. It would just be a waste of time. But that obviously did not happen. I mean, the debate was more than 90 minutes, and he was the focus for a good 20,
Yeah.
which is an astonishing percentage for somebody whom no disrespect to anyone intended, but I don't think anyone has him as a front runner.
And it was interesting to watch Ellis under this pressure. And look, part of what you want in a leader is, how do they react when the questioning is on, when the heat is on? How do they react? And it's not something we've ever really seen Ellis on the provincial stage face. Because as you've pointed out before, the NDP don't really know what to do with Ellis Ross.
Yeah.
They desperately don't want to look disrespectful. They treat him very differently than any other MLA in the House. And so it was kind of instructive to see, how he could take a verbal hit and then dish one back. And I found it quite an intriguing look into Ellis Ross as a politician, even though he doesn't want to be a politician.
That's what I was going to say. I think he takes exception with that title. Ellis Ross might be the only, I'm going to go ahead and call him a politician, the only politician actively running to lead a major political party who could probably get away with saying that he's not a politician because he is a very unique kind of politician. But I mean, it was that line made me smile. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I thought the debate started slow. I think a little bit of that has to do with the tragedy and the challenges we're experiencing in huge swaths of the province with the flooding. Yeah. I think, we've spent a lot of time talking about, the need for BC to unite. You think about all of the wonderful stories we've been seeing of people helping one another during this time. It's hard to, flip the switch and then, go after Kevin Falcon right after that, right? It takes some time to build into that. But maybe that's best personified by a guy like Gavin Dew, who in the first debate was very much the center of a lot of the
elbows up
politics. And in this one was kind of the peace, love, and granola guy, even trying to channel a little Gordon Wilson after after a few not so veiled personal battles that went on, by saying, guys, look, we just need to all stay together. That's what the party wants. It was an interesting shift for him, and I wonder if that had to do with some feedback he got from from the first debate.
Or if it's either feedback or it's, he saw a way to try and contrast himself, which is smart. I mean, with 6 people on the stage, anything you can do to sort of stand out and seem different from the other 5 is probably for the best. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, he might have just seen an opportunity to say, guys, I'm the adult in the room. I'm the one who's not interested. I'm the one who wants to rise above all this stuff, and worth a shot.
Yeah, I think you're right. Just looking through my notes here, and there was a number of things. Look, I think everyone was better than they were the first time.
I would agree with that.
It's probably comfort with format. You've seen yourself on camera now. You've had feedback from people. I thought they all did better than they did the first time. I thought Val Litwin had a very good night. Like, I thought his questions were smart. He kind of went after Gavin for the peace, love, and granola thing. Apparently he owes Gavin a beer or 2, is what I gleaned from that. Is that fair? Val had a good night?
I think that's true. Yeah. I mean, my impression of Val is kind of the same as the last debate, which he's the man is very polished. He's very good in formats like this. He's very telegenic. His tone is never too low and never too high. He, quite frankly, kind of excels at this kind of thing. And I think it's the kind of thing where if he had a bigger profile going into this, we'd be talking about him a lot more. But I think he more than carried his own weight in this debate, and I agree that he had a good night.
Yeah. Were you a little bit surprised that the issue of Kevin Falcon may or may not run for MLA if he's not the leader got more play than some of the things we saw between the Lee and Falcon campaign a few weeks ago?
Well, I'm not surprised, only because it was something that seemed to stick last time, and so it's always worth revisiting to see if you get the same answer. And look, it's fair to point out that Kevin brought this up himself in 2011 or whenever it was with Christy Clark, and so fair play. I will say that, well, I still think the answer is just to say yes. That's to Falcon's credit. He's sort of stuck out his position on this, which is no, I'm not. I'm clearly not going to run if I don't win, and that's just the situation here. And you know what? That's better to be consistent.
Yeah, no, I agree fully. I see Shirley Bond is in the is listening. I wonder if she would like to speak. Shirley, if you would, what can you do? Do you press the button? I don't know. Let me just bring you on and ask you. I'm going to invite her to speak. Because I for one always enjoy hearing from Shirley, and there she is. Shirley Bond, interim leader of the BC Liberals. Thanks for being with us.
Oh, she's still muted. There you go.
Hi.
Shirley, what did you think?
Well, look, I'm always energized when I see our candidates with a lot of passion. There's differing viewpoints. I think it attracts interest. And, the other thing I was thinking about, Jordan, was the fact that this is only debate number 2. So a couple more to come. So, I think that obviously this is a critical point in the race, and people are differentiating themselves. And what I care about is making sure that our party grows, that we see energy. And I think tonight helped that.
Yeah, Shirley, I was really glad that they spent a little bit of time on the flood and the mudslide issues, and just the NDP's really atrocious handling of a lot of this. And linking it back to Heat Dome, we've seen this movie now 3 times with forest fires, heat domes, and now this. I know you've done a lot of work in the House. Question period, you've spent a lot of time on this, and just wanted to say thank you for holding government to account on that, because there's a lot more they could be doing.
Well, I think, I appreciate that. I think that, we still have more work to do. And I think what we tried to demonstrate when we were successful in having an emergency debate in the legislature is, we brought some ideas to the table, and we made requests of government. We said, of course, we're holding them to account. That's our job. But we also want to be part of that solution. And I think British Columbians actually appreciate it when politicians find a way to work together. So, I'm going to continue to push, as is the leader of the Green Party, for us to work together with government to say we need to review, we need to look at how we do this differently. What better way to do that than by doing that together? So, we'll continue to work on the asks that we have. And I just want to say this, we're so grateful for the generosity and resilience of people across this province. I'm so proud to be a British Columbian, but there's no doubt there's gaps. Our job is to work to try to close those gaps.
Yeah, absolutely. Shirley, thanks for that. I see a couple of the candidates have popped on, so I'm going to grab them while they're here, but I definitely appreciate you being on, and thanks for everything you're doing.
Oh, my pleasure. And thanks for making this venue available. I hope more people begin to use it. So thanks, guys.
No worries. Take care. Let's bring on, I saw Gavin Dew's name first, so I'm going to invite Gavin to speak first, and just invited him. Gavin, how was debate number 2?
You know what? I thought that was really good, Jordan. It was a good, robust exchange of ideas, and I think, as I said at the end, it got a little spicy, but I think, well within the parameters of what's appropriate for a group of people who are, at the end of the day, colleagues. Our job is to demonstrate the breadth of our party, grow the breadth of our party, inject some energy, some excitement, and get ready to beat the NDP. And I think we did that tonight.
Yeah, Gavin, look, your challenge there, I thought was well-timed. I'm curious, is it something you kind of had in mind going into the debate, or was it just the way things were unfolding? You felt like you wanted to step in and kind of bring the candidates back together. I thought it was a really pivotal moment in the debate.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it a lot, but I had about 10 minutes worth of arguing to think it through, Jordan. So, I thought it was important, and it was a message that I do keep coming back to. I'm as guilty as anyone else of being capable of being chippy at times. This is a highly competitive race, and we all want to win. But at the end of the day, what's the point of winning a Pyrrhic victory where you've won the leadership, but you've won the leadership of a party that you burnt down in the process? So I am truly a big believer that we have to come out the other end of this thing and move forward united. And the decisions we make as candidates, the way that we talk to each other and about each other throughout the race has to reflect that reality. And it's tough. It's a tough balance to find, Jordan, because we're competitors, but we are all on the same side, and we are all pursuing the same objective, which is to defeat the NDP and form a new government.
It's always an interesting challenge for debates in the same party, because I think you're quite right, Gavin, in that the challenge is obviously to get noticed and to win and to make a case that you're the best person, but also not to supply the other side with attack ad fodder come the next election. And how do you prepare going into that? Is it just a way of framing and phrasing your questions differently, or sort of explain your thought process when you're trying to raise an issue without going for the kill?
Well, I'll be honest with you. My thought process for this debate was prepare less. I was reading my notes too much last time. I felt a little stiff, and so I went in this time with no notes. And I just wanted to kind of go with the flow and have a solid understanding of the issues that might come up, and then you think about the high level framing or the high level dynamics that you want to achieve. But I think you can't go into these things rigidly and just be reading off of a script, because that script is always prepared before you know what happened in the last 30 seconds or the last 30 minutes of the debate that you're in. So you've got to be nimble.
Definitely. Hey, Gavin, thanks for joining us. We have Val and Michael in the queue here, so I'm going to grab them. But great job. Appreciate it. And good luck to you and your campaign. Oh, and by the way, Gavin, I got to say, you and your team and Val's team have done an amazing job while you guys are on the stage of putting out content while you're going on there. It really adds a lot on Twitter and Facebook. So congratulations to your campaigns on that as well.
And I guess the bigger question we should have asked is, are they in fact having a beer together right now?
Well, we can ask, we have Michael Lee up next, but then we have Val. So we can ask and find out for ourselves. Let me bring on Michael Lee, invite to speak.
Well, if Michael's not ready, I see that Val has requested.
Yeah, I think you're right. Let's go with Val. All right, Val is on. He's muted. He'll unmute in a second. Val, thought you did a great job again tonight. What lessons did you take from the first debate, and how did it frame preparing for debate number 2?
Do you know what, guys? I'm so sorry. I can't get my phone off speaker. So let me mute myself again or step away for 1 second to try to redial in here because the audio is horrible.
No worries.
Can you come back to me?
Absolutely. No worries.
The perils of live Twitter Spaces.
I know. While Val obviously upgrades his operating system, as I'm sure. That's really inside the belt, man. That is that is some kind of humor.
I mean, but luckily for you, like the 100 people in the province who can get that joke are all actually in the Twitter space. So that
95% of them are in the
it landed. It landed.
Yeah.
And while Val is getting his audio sorted out, and while Michael, I see Jody Vance is also requested too. If Jody wants,
Val's back.
Oh, Val's back, but then we should go to Jody at some point tonight.
I don't know. I get nervous when I broadcast with Jody, though. She's so good. Okay, let's go to Val. Here we go. Val, how's that sound? Oh, he's muted.
Hey, guys, how's that?
Oh, that's much better. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. For some reason, the Twitter app is forcing it to be on speaker. I can't just talk like a normal person. So there's 20 people around me listening to this. So that's good. Okay. You've got more audience right now.
That's right. Perfect.
20 new listeners.
I'm going to count that. Hey, Val, how did debate number 1, and then watching it back, as I'm sure you did, how did that prepare you for debate 2? What were kind of your goals coming into this one?
Well, yeah, I mean, as a first time debater and political one at that, I think you sort of feel like you break the seal on it, right? You get out there, you tangle with some of the other candidates on stage, you get into some meaningful conversation. So I mean, I love the first debate, had a ball in this second debate as well, but I think really it's just getting in there and getting used to the format. You could see even on debate number 2 tonight, a bunch of us candidates on stage going, okay, how many times have I challenged? Am I allowed to respond? Can I use it in that way? Gavin, kudos to him, bending the rules. He just challenged everyone. He challenged the world with his challenge cards tonight. So, no, it felt great, and was really happy with, what I learned in the first debate.
It's only a penalty if the ref blows the whistle.
Mm-hmm.
What did any surprises for you in this debate in terms of what you learned from the first one, or just anything that struck you?
No, I mean, what for me the highlight in the debate tonight was I actually thought I think we all got off script a little bit, and we got into some meaningful conversations. And I know some people may be watching, whether casually or intently, or kind of going, well, it got chippy tonight. No, it didn't. It got real. And we started talking about some stuff that I think personally is very important it's important to me. I think it's important to voters, but I think it has to be important to the party. And obviously I'm alluding to the exchange around climate change and climate action. So it was spicy, as Gavin noted, but I think it was spiced just perfectly, because these are the kind of conversations we need to be having now if we're serious about forming government a couple of years from now.
Yeah, I think you're right, Val. And Val, I really appreciated how sophisticated your team was as you were kind of unrolling that, because, as I'm watching on Facebook, I'm also watching Twitter, and up on your Twitter pops the video clip that you were referring to with Ellis. That takes time and preparation and good politicking, to be honest. That's hard to do. So kudos to you and your team for having that material available as well. Where do you think the race goes from here? McLean and I, we were laughing because before debate number 1, we thought it would be a love-in, and it wasn't. And then before debate number 2, we were like, well, I guess they'll all pile on Falcon again. And that really didn't happen in this one. Can you tell me what's going to happen in debate 3 so I actually sound smart for once?
Well, yeah, it's funny. I mean, I've been chatting with other candidates and teams about this. On the one hand, you're kind of wondering how many people are actually leaning into this leadership race, right? In the party. I mean, you wonder how many people in the party are watching. Certainly no one in the general public is really paying close attention to this. So I hope now, we're sort of like characters to people. They've learned who we are, what our histories are, what we've done, what we stand for. And I hope now we're creating content and conversations for people that will encourage them and inspire them to now engage more in this. So I guess that's the first thing. The question was, what to expect in debate number 3. What I'm hoping selfishly as a candidate is a bigger audience, more people asking questions, getting engaged. I mean, it would be nice to see more young people asking some of the questions as well. Not to sound ageist, but it would be fun to get a question on climate change from someone in their 20s. So for me, this is really about how do we continue to pull in new members to the party, new voices, new ideas, new perspectives. In terms of, some of the issues, I do think we need to be talking meaningfully about what it will take to win in 2024 and kind of get beyond the hashtag and the soundbite. That was part of my intent to get into the climate change stuff tonight because, as a young dad, well, let me back it up a half second. As a business person and a fiscally responsible kind of guy, I have that tradition in me that loves the past of this party and what we've done. And I think we've got a great track record, but I do think it will take a sea change approach now on climate and some of these issues that I see as table stakes moving forward. So I hope we're going to get into, in debate number 3, again, deep conversations around some of the stuff that's non-negotiable now. How we welcome in members of the LGBTQ2+ community, for example, how we are going to create better, more inclusive opportunities for women to step up to this party, to be heard, to feel welcome, and to run successfully in the ridings we put them in. So I just think we have to keep going for the meaningful stuff. So I hope maybe in debate number 3, we sink our teeth into some juicier subjects yet again.
Sounds good to me. Val, thanks for joining us. We'll let you go because I know you got to go buy Gavin a beer apparently, or 2. So we'll let you go. Michael Lee's going to join us up next. And great job. And always appreciate you taking time for us after.
Outstanding. Thanks, McLean. Thanks, Jordan. Have a good night.
Take care.
Thanks, Val.
And let us add Mr. Lee. Hi, Michael. Yes, thanks for your patience. These.
Oh, we tried to get in before, but we weren't quite getting in. So thanks for your patience.
These rookie candidates. They love to talk here and just kept us yakking for so long.
I think Val and Gavin are going to have a beer at the Bard and Banker, which is where my event is happening right now. So
perfect.
Just, sitting on the block.
I can sign a membership card for you. It'll be great.
Yeah, you can plausibly say they're attending your event.
We all need more members in this party for sure.
Michael, what's the moment that you're going to take away from tonight, and what's the one that if someone was going to watch a 1-minute clip of this debate, this is the one you hope they watch?
Well, as it pertains to me, I hope it's the exchange that I had with Ellis, because I do think my concern is that we need a balanced approach for this party, and the particular statement that I was referring to for Ellis is the email that he had sent out that created a false choice vis-a-vis emergency infrastructure versus electric vehicles.
Yeah, that was a super interesting exchange to me because, Michael, we haven't seen, Ellis debates in the House, but he doesn't get the kind of scrutiny that some other MLAs get. Just I think given his stature and his work with the Heisla, the difficulties the NDP find in dealing with that. So I found it really interesting how Ellis, responded to those questions, how he pushed back. It was a very interesting 20 minutes of that debate, and kudos to you and for bringing it up and for letting us explore that a little bit.
Michael, is there anything that it's a long, I guess it's a little more than 90 minutes. Was there anything that didn't come up that you'd hope would be canvassed more, or just, opportunities left on the table, or just stuff that you're waiting for in the next debate?
So you want a preview of my debate strategy for the third one, eh?
Yes.
Yes. In a PowerPoint presentation.
Well, you're just going to have to watch the third debate, McLean.
Oh.
I think you can see the glimmers of the themes, the differentiation amongst the candidates. Certainly, we're a number of us are really strong on messaging and discipline, and I hope that your listeners are getting that from my candidacy as well, because there's definitely a difference. And to listening to what Gavin and Val has said already this evening, this is a very important time for these debates, and for those who are within our party and our team to be listening in and viewing, because we do have to select the right leader to win the next election. This is what this is all about. We can't get that decision wrong, and there's too much at stake here for this province.
I'm also going to agree with you on one other thing. I also do not understand the challenge card rule.
Well, there's a couple things there, and we could have I said to Gavin right afterwards, I said, hey, that you took away the big wave from each of us when we get to wave, and I get a nice social media post, because you just started right into your introduction. He said, oh, not until you just mentioned that did I realize that. So he was ready to go, obviously, Gavin, tonight, and to lead. And also, I was surprised because under the rules of the debate, as far as I understand it, we are not able to, as candidates, challenge or use our challenge cards on candidate questions, and we were still in that section. But things opened up in a different way because of about this, and quite frankly, I'm not even sure that I would have had the opportunity to continue to challenge Ellis on my question exchange with him. It would have been, it's usually 30-second question, 1 minute response, a minute response or rebuttal from the questioner, and then a 30-second conclusion from the person who was originally asked the question.
Yeah, it's like Survivor. We don't really know the rules unless Jeff Probst tells us. So I need Maz to explain it to me a bit more. Michael, can I ask? I'm going to ask one question, and it's just kind of gnawing at me a bit. And here it is. Obviously, a few weeks ago, there was the appalling incident with a Falcon campaign volunteer, and the way he just, I don't even want to say spoke. He was just disgusting to a member of your campaign team. That wasn't canvassed at all tonight. And I guess my question is, do you consider that matter resolved now between the campaigns? Is it finished, or where are we at with that? And, it's an awkward question for me to ask, but I'm just very curious about that.
Yeah, Jordan, it's a fair question to ask. Obviously, for those who watched the speech I gave at the provincial council meeting with the leadership showcase on November 5th, I had a fairly serious message about both the potential candidacy of Aaron Gunn and this situation in terms of the misogynistic harassment of a campaign, my campaign manager, Diamond. As I understand it, there is still an ongoing investigation review by the Falcon campaign. The party certainly is and LEOC is certainly doing their own review as well of some form. So the matter is still under review, Jordan, it's fair to say. But as you know, this whole thing is about the importance of rebuilding the culture of this party. And when these incidents occur, we have to be strong and clear on them and as how they're being dealt with.
Yeah, very, very fair. I appreciate your candor there, Michael, because I know that's an awkward question to get asked, and certainly, I've reached out. I've spoken with Diamond as well, and it sickens me that anyone has to face that. And as a society, as a party, as people, we've got to be better than that. So I do appreciate you holding that to account, because that's important going forward.
Well, Jordan, I think this is the difference on this leadership candidacy and campaign. I know last time when you had me on after the first debate, you asked me what the difference was, and there's some serious issues that we have to address. It's the time to have these difficult, tough conversations as I talk about them. And look, I'm not looking for these things, right? I mean, they're clearly there within our party, and they're clearly needs to be addressed in a different way as we move forward. We just can't paper over them, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Michael, I'm going to let you go to your party. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it, and good luck to you the rest of the way.
Well, great to talk to you, Jordan and McKay.
Thanks, Michael.
And I see Ellis Ross has joined us, adding him as a speaker. Let's see if we can hear Ellis under the dog pile of all the other candidates on after that debate. Ellis, are you okay?
Are you bruised, Ellis?
Wow, that was unexpected, I must say.
Well, that's what we said going into this Twitter space, Ellis. Was the first debate, I speaking only for myself, I was wrong. I thought it was going to be a lot more sort of cordial and collegial, and I thought that this debate, the focus would be on Kevin Falcon, if anyone, because he's has been presented as a favorite. But to spend as much time as the debate did tonight on you was just, I was astonished, quite frankly. How did it feel in real time?
Well, it's been quite a few years actually that I've been able to get into that mode. I did that previous to 17 years, actually going up against everything and everybody, trying to get some principled decisions across. But in the House, it's different, right? You got to be a little bit more polite. You got to be more measured. And at times, I've actually raised my voice and actually let the anger get the better of me in the legislature times. I apologize for it. But this time, I pointed out to my wife tonight, I didn't get angry. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't, let the anger get the better of me. And that's what she always criticized me about.
Our wives, they're such truth tellers. Ellis, I know you're not a politician, Ellis, but for those of us who once were, and who follow along, the reading I get out of this is your campaign must be doing something right to draw all this attention from the other ones. I know I've spoken to you before about this, and when you send out membership letters requesting people to sign up members, I'm the president of Langley East riding. I see members get signed up. And so I suspect that the other candidates have picked up on this now and are turning their sights on you. Is that how you read that as well? Is that a fair view?
I'm not quite sure, apart from polling, which I haven't seen any polling. I find it really hard to measure this. It's my first time doing this ever. And I actually, what I measure our progress on is when I get in front of a group of people that actually don't know me or don't support the BC Liberals, and I can walk out of that room and maybe 3/4 of them have signed up, or 3/4 of them have said yes, we'll support you. That's what I measure success on. But it's time consuming. It's hard work. It's a lot of travel. But that's the only measurement I have.
So, I mean, is it? I think, and not to ask the same question, but is it fair to say that you did not expect this tonight? That you would not be, the center of attention, both an inspiration and also the person being asked the most questions by far?
Well, I expected one or two questions, but I didn't expect every single question. But you know what? I've always thrived in that environment. And in fact, if anybody wanted to get heated with on this discussion point, I was more than happy to go back at it, especially if it's based on principle. Mm-hmm. And I was honest tonight. You know what? I'll address these issues as they come up. But you know what? I won't do this for politics. I won't do this for votes. I've never done it in the past in my previous leadership. I truly believe that you got to be honest with your voters and the constituents you represent. And if the voters can't see that, or they don't support that honesty and truth, then you know what? The voter's always right.
What's the moment from the debate tonight that you hope someone who hasn't made up their mind who was watching would have taken away from it?
I didn't back down. I didn't change my narrative because I developed it over the better part of 17 years. And it was quite interesting that kind of here at the end where everybody actually backed off the electric car question when they realized it's actually rich people applying for discounts to buy electric cars. And I've been watching, you know, the affordability question from afar for the last 17 years, knowing that number one for affordability, you know, the worst case scenario for you is to be on welfare. That's the worst case. I mean, you can uplift an entire generation of people, whether indigenous or not, and get them into really good paying jobs where they don't need government help, they don't need council help, they don't need subsidies. That's the best feeling in the world. And so I didn't back down. I didn't change my narrative, not for the sake of politics and not for the sake of votes. And I hope voters could see that.
Yeah, no, I thought you did great, Ellis. I thought you stood in there. I think you'd be really proud of your performance tonight and your campaign so far. And wish you all the best of luck as it continues on down the road here.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. This is my first Twitter party too.
Whoa, there we go.
See you guys later.
Thanks, Ellis.
Bye. All right.
Well,
now they're all gone. We can talk about them.
well, most of them. I see Ellis is still like the first ranked listener, so I mean he can definitely hear what we're saying about him.
Yeah, no, I think their feedback is pretty correct. You know, I did think Ellis defended himself without seeming angry.
Mm-hmm.
Can be difficult to do, especially when the heat is rising and it feels like everyone is against you except for Gavin Kumbaya Dew over there. But he held his own, and like I said, I found it quite instructive. You know, the issue is very relevant. Climate change, obviously, a very relevant issue, but it's almost irrelevant what the issue was as far as trying to gauge how Ellis handles that kind of questioning. So it was I found that very interesting. Something I'll be pondering. I'll be pondering for a day or two and thinking about how that all unfolded.
Well, last time when we did this, some of the feedback I got was that the segment that people enjoyed the most, other than hearing from the candidates, which is the best, is us going through the candidates and just sort of going through, how we thought they did, points that they were strong for them, moments they'd like to take back, that kind of thing, and even just overall impressions. I did get a note from someone here saying they wish we could do sort of a recap of the whole debate, which it was 90 minutes.
Yeah, just go watch it.
Yeah, it'd be a long debate. It was 90 minutes, but if we go through the candidates, I think it'll serve much the same purpose.
Yeah, so let's start with Kevin because we haven't talked about him much yet. And look, I thought Falcon. I think tonight is a win for Falcon in that he wasn't the subject of everyone's wrath.
Yeah.
Michael Lee questioned him again on running for the party if he doesn't win the leadership.
Wasn't that Ellis?
Was it? No, I thought it was Michael. Was it Ellis?
Yeah, Ellis talked about his pledge that he wanted them all.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Anyways, it doesn't really matter who it was. I thought Kevin's answer, he didn't stray from his answer. There are ways to support the party other than being an MLA. I think we've said a million times, like the political answer for Kevin is to say, of course I will, and then just kind of ghost at the if he doesn't win. But he's being upfront and saying, "Nah, I'm not going to do that." So at least where he stands. I think that's actually been baked in now. I don't see that moving any votes here at this point, but I could be wrong on that. But like I said, every minute they were turning their attention to Ellis was a minute that Kevin Falcon was winning this debate.
Yeah, I was just shocked that Kevin didn't get more attention than he did, just because he is, the front runner. And so you would think that you tweeted something about the political calculus going on. The fact that he received so little attention, it was just so odd. And of course, if you are Kevin Falcon, you're quite right to say that's a win. because when he was receiving attention in the first debate, it was all in the form of pointed criticism and questions.
It's also a sign of where his campaign's at. So,
Yeah.
Other than this really egregious, awful behavior by a volunteer, and that volunteer has been fired. Other than that, his campaign hasn't made mistakes. And, that's what you have to do as a front runner. Don't give free ammunition to your opponents. It's been mistake-free with that one giant caveat.
Yeah.
And so there was nothing fresh to really canvass him on tonight, right? Like there was no, Kevin, you said this crazy thing to canvass him on. So that shows you that their discipline in that campaign is working.
Do you think that, and this isn't necessarily specifically about Kevin Falcon, but do you think that the party will be criticized for that issue not coming up in the debate? I can see how a lot of the candidates might have thought that someone would bring it up, and then just no one did. I don't know that that's what happened, but I can easily see that.
The NDP criticized BC Liberal debates anyway, so they'll criticize it for, you only talked 20 minutes on climate change, you should have talked 40 minutes. They'll criticize, there's a number of issues that didn't come up. One issue that didn't come up, and I wonder if it's question 7, is that, Maz wasn't able to get to, might have been around children with autism. I wonder if that was the next one to come. But yeah, so good night for Falcon by not being a bad night for Falcon.
Okay.
Who
else? Well, let's talk about Ellis, just because he did receive so much attention, and he did have I don't want to call it a circular firing squad, but he was kind of in the middle there and had to turn around a lot. What would you say was his high point and his low point?
His high point was standing in there under the pressure.
Yeah.
Not contradicting himself, and being true to that McCain-esque straight talk express, kind of campaign he's running. So he stood in there. He didn't look defensive, even though he was defending himself. That's a difficult thing to do. So, it's funny because he'll go to bed tonight and relive that exchange over and over in his mind, probably.
Yeah.
But it's his worst moment and his best moment kind of rolled into one. At least that's what I think.
Yeah, I would agree. I am like you. I am going to be wondering for the next couple of days, exactly what happened that made him so. I'm going to use the word popular, but yeah, we'll probably won't know for a few days exactly what's going on there. But it was fascinating. I mean, that really is the story of the debate to me, is that, that Ellis Ross was the focus. If you knew nothing else about this debate, and if you hadn't been paying attention, you might think that he was the favorite, just judging how everyone treated him.
Yeah, so here's where the dynamic is, I think, right now in the campaign. I think most people concede Falcon's the front runner. And really the question is, does Falcon hit 45% on that first preferential ballot or not? If he hits 45%, it's going to be it'll be almost mathematically impossible to stop him from winning. But if he's under 45%, whoever bubbles up among those other 5 is very likely the next leader of the BC Liberal Party.
Yeah.
And, anecdotally, it feels like Ellis has kind of bubbled into that second position. And I think that's why all those other candidates are trying to tackle him a little bit.
Yeah, and that certainly makes sense. And then, just if you're listening and you're not getting it, because the party's using a preferential system, if Kevin Falcon is the runaway favorite, if he does get 45%, you need 50% to win. If he gets 45% on the first ballot, you're right, it would be almost mathematically impossible. He would have to be almost literally nobody's second or even third favorite, third choice to win after that point, which is, in the realm of probability, but not really.
No. So, so interesting night for Ellis. It certainly will create buzz in the party that, he is emerging from that contenders spot. Which brings us to the next candidate, Michael Lee, who I think is the one who, is rivaling Ellis for that second spot. And, I thought it was a good night for Michael Lee. I thought he seemed a lot more engaging than debate number 1. I think he learned some lessons from that one. He was asking pointed questions. All around, I thought it was a fine night for Michael. I'm trying to trying to think what the memorable Michael moment would be. Do you have one?
He wasn't often the focus. He didn't have a lot of questions directed at him.
Were you surprised? Were you surprised when Falcon went after him about having his pay docked? Were you aware of that?
Yeah. I didn't know that. Although it rang a bell, if that makes sense. But I think it's that I guess he has stepped back from the legislature to focus on the leadership campaign, which, I mean, it's a majority government. It's not like Michael Lee not being there is going to stop any bill. And it was I thought it was kind of an interesting question for Falcon to ask immediately after in the debate. Falcon making the point that there are many ways a person can contribute to a political party. You don't have to be, an MLA, and then turn around and saying, well, you're not being the MLA.
Yeah.
I mean, and Lee's point was also fair that, like, look, it's not the only job is not in the legislature holding the government to account. That's just not true. I mean, you're still doing services for constituents and all that stuff. And I don't think anyone is intimating that people aren't doing that.
Yeah. Michael is and they all are, but Michael is a genuinely nice human being.
Yes.
And so he doesn't have the audacity just to turn on Falcon and give him heck for a question like that. And it kind of reminds me of the last race when I think it was Michael DeYoung asked if Michael Lee would support parachute candidates or things like that, leader appointed candidates, reminding people that Christy Clark had appointed Lee.
Yeah.
And he should have turned around on Michael DeYoung and said, hey, Mike, when's the last time you faced a nomination challenge? You've been in the House 20 years. Like, that would have been the mean thing to say. Instead, he was nice. And I do wonder a little bit, like, John Horgan, David Eby, Ravi Kahlon, they're going to be mean. So, are you able to, will you be able to kind of defend yourself against those tough questions in hot moments on a stage that the entire province is watching?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair question. His answer would probably be something a lot like when we were talking to Gavin near off the top. Is it's such a hard balanced strike in a party leadership race where you don't want to be too aggressive because you don't want to damage people that if you win will be running for you as high profile candidates. So it's tough. I know that I would probably struggle in that setting.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Renee Merrifield, because I'm not sure we've talked much about her yet. I can tell you on the Facebook feed on BC Liberals page, she had a very vocal group touting her answers. So clearly some organization went into that. And you know me, I always like a good political organization. So
I haven't seen that yet. So you're right. That does speak well to organizational capability. Renee also, I mean, I'm trying to think of a time where, she was under pressure or fielding lots of questions. Renee, I thought, did a good job when she was asking questions and all that, and responding to questions from the listeners. But boy, did the other candidates ask her a question once? I'm struggling to think of one.
No, I don't believe they did. I think she talked a little bit around the equity issues and things like that. Mm-hmm. I think she got involved. Maybe her best moment was when Ellis was kind of poo-pooing everyone else's environmental credentials. Her pointing out that she's built a number of environmentally friendly buildings, and STEP Code 3. These are construction terms, so they ring a bell with construction insiders like me. But I think that might have been that was probably the highlight of her night, I would think.
I agree. I think that's when she was strongest. When Renee has sometimes been criticized in the media for getting into trouble on her feet, and that was obviously an on her feet response. And I thought easily her strongest moment, I would say, in either debate.
Yeah, no, I agree. So good night for her. I thought she grew from the first one, and really that's all you can ask for these candidates is as they get more experience in this to keep growing debate to debate. Gavin Dew, McLean, can I ask you a question? You're an island boy.
Yes, I am. Fiscal
fairness on ferries, is that a big deal on the island? Because for for a kid locked in Langley, I got to admit, I have not given a lot of thought to fiscal fairness on ferries.
I mean, yes, it is something that gets talked about on the island. The ferries are expensive. They are. And so
isn't
it
that
is
to keep people like me? Isn't that to keep people like me away from the island? That's what Jack Knox taught me.
I mean, yes, it is. That is the sole reason.
Okay.
But no, I mean, yeah, Gavin was right in that it's an issue that it is something that people talk about on the island. The risk of it is a very island focused issue. I don't think there are people in, to your point, Langley, or certainly not in Prince George and Kamloops that pay much mind to this at all. And so yeah, it was. I could see that issue, not landing with people who aren't on Vancouver Island or the Gulf Islands, and so yeah, it's tough. It is somewhat obscure in terms of a provincial issue, especially since the islands have been so dominated by the NDP that a lot of these issues really don't get much airing. But yeah, I mean, Gavin was right to bring up that. Yeah, I believe him when he says that when he talks to people on the island, that's something that comes up. So, we, especially in the era of COVID, like we'd love to go see the rest of the province and spend our travel money in BC, but it is damned expensive to get off the island.
Well, all right. I guess we'll give that one a pass. Look, for Gavin, I got a text during the debate, and it was essentially, who is this guy and what has he done with Gavin Dew? In that it was just so different from the first debate where he was all feisty, and then the second one he's like, oh, you guys are kind of spicy. I'm just a nice, interesting. But I thought his reasons after made logical sense, and during this leadership race, you do go out, you meet with more and more people, and you get feedback along the way. And I don't think the party has been buffeted for so long, and we've kind of had this internal navel gazing thing going on. I just don't think any of us are like in the mood to fight with each other. We get enough grief from everyone else, and maybe that's what Gavin's picking up and trying to communicate in this debate.
Well, yeah, I mean, if Gavin was here, I mean, he would say that he's running to win the leadership of the party, but I don't think that most people see him as a favorite right now, which is fine. People who have not been favorites have won before. But if you're someone in Gavin's position, I think it makes sense to try a few different approaches. He did try, being the elbows up guy in the first debate, and I would argue that worked for him because he stood out. And in this debate, when elbows were up with everyone else, he tried to stand out again by taking the other direction. So, I mean, I actually thought it was kind of shrewd.
Ooh, he's like the 1994 NHL 94 Jeremy Roenick. He can play tough and he can score. He can do it all. It's multifaceted. The one thing for Gavin, the issue that he must have been wishing was going to come up with is NDP's plan to basically kick private operators out of government-funded daycare. I know that's an issue near and dear to his heart. I believe he and Aaron owned and operated a daycare for quite some time. So you can bet that he's hoping that one comes up next time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, it would be one of those. They do get the opportunity to ask each other questions, but I mean, there seems to be pretty wide consensus on the BC Liberal side that what the provincial government is doing is a bad idea. So, what points are you going to score by, asking, hey, Renee Merrifield, what do you think about the NDP are doing? Well, it's bad, and everyone says I agree, and so
Yeah, but I think there's points there along the lines of like, how do you communicate this out to? Yeah, I was going to say Joe Mom and Joe Dad, but you know what I mean. The average mom and dad out there, how do you actually get this message to them? I think there might be some fertile ground there. And then Val Litwin, we talked about off the top.
Yep.
He's so polished. Like, yeah, I wish I could speak as polished as that guy. Like, he's a smooth talking guy. Continues to bring a very different view to this debate and made a very passionate case about why BC Liberals should again be the leaders on climate change. And, that is, even more than COVID, at least where I am right now, that is the issue everyone here is talking about and considering. I live 20 minutes away from the flooded Sumas Prairie. All of those places that you see on TV underwater, we're intimately familiar with. We've, taken our kids there. We bought ice cream there. We bought eggs there. I've performed weddings there. there's folks that work there in along Sumas Way. So these are not esoteric things to those of us living in the Fraser Valley. These are things that we're really coming to terms with, and so good on Val for pushing that line of questioning forward. And I do think that's an important part of the electoral calculus going forward.
No, and he's absolutely right. I mean, he won't be the first politician or even commentator to point out that, I mean, in Canada in 2021 or 2024, you simply can't be competitive if your party isn't perceived to at least have an attempt at a serious climate plan. What your specific proposals in that are obviously important, but even perceived to be being in that field is just absolutely crucial. I mean, the federal Conservative Party is a serious climate plan. That's what former Green leader Andrew Reaver made the point that that's not an area that his party can just expect to own anymore, because every single party in the provincial realm has a serious climate plan, and being seen to be, fair or no, not taking that issue seriously enough, I think is fatal. And so he's quite right to say, listen, we simply can't be left behind on this stage, and we have to. The public has to know that this is something that the party is working very hard on and focusing on. And they might have some different ideas about policies and approaches, but it has to be high on the agenda.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, I see Mike Klassen's actually listening in, and maybe I could bring him on. I'd be curious what Mike has to say. Mike being obviously an urban BC Liberal, and there's so few of them left. Just what his takeaways were, because I think you're coming at it from a bit of an island perspective, me from obviously a suburban one. Of course. So I'm just going to invite Mike to speak here. Maybe he's probably scrambling, panicking. Mike,
I thought I was going to get tonight off.
Mike, how you doing?
Mike is on.
Oh,
Mike
there
is
you
on.
are, Mike.
Hi.
Mike is on.
Hey, guys.
Mike is on.
Yes.
Mike, give me the urban perspective on this debate. How was it?
It was, I don't know, it still feels like pretty slim pickings from the city voter standpoint. I mean, of course, everybody's talking about the big issues, affordability, climate change, electric cars. But I didn't see anybody talking about, infrastructure, housing, affordability. Really, kind of didn't get talked about at all tonight. So, and those are some of the big issues in the Lower Mainland here, and probably the other urban centers around the province. So, I don't know. I think I think overall, I think all of the candidates did a pretty good job of staking out their turf. I agree with you. The exchange with Ellis was quite fascinating, and we'll see how it all sort of settles out in the next few days.
Perfect, Mike. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to bump you off because Renee Merrifield's jumped in, and I want to give her a chance as well. Mike, he's so polite. He just mutes himself and moves on. Such a pro. Mike Klassen, everyone.
Pro enough to cover for me when I couldn't figure out how to come on in the first 15 minutes the first time we did this. So that's right. That is a pro's pro.
It would have been awful for the people to have heard me rambling on by myself for a while. All right, I've invited Renee to speak. I'm hoping she's available. I see her in the chat. So what happens, folks, when you add people to the chat? You don't actually know if they are able to speak. They could be in a crowded place or not have a microphone. So we're kind of at their.
Well, and a lot of them are hosting like post-debate events. Oh, and I see Renee is joining us.
Okay, so Renee, just need to unmute.
I think I have it working now.
I hear you. I hear you. You're there.
Awesome.
It's all good.
Awesome. My apologies. I am in a loud place, so I was bustling out and making sure that I got a little quieter, but also just couldn't figure out the mute button. So my apologies.
Renee, in these debates, like, is the adrenaline just pumping like crazy? Like, I'm always amazed at how politicians can look under control in those moments, because I imagine the wheels are just turning and the blood is pumping. It must be a real feeling.
Absolutely. Well, your mind is going for sure. But I liken it to jumping off a cliff. It's that moment that you're standing on the edge, that you feel that crazy amount of adrenaline. But once you're actually falling and once you're in the water, you don't have that same sensation anymore. And it's about jumping in and then just really starting to key in on the issues and try and get important points out. That minute is brutal. Oh, is it hard? Oh, is it hard? So I think that you saw that a little bit with even the environment questions and the tension growing, and all of a sudden we realized, wait a second, we can say more, and the challenge cards came out. So definitely have that feeling.
Yeah, we've been talking about that's really the storyline all night that's emerged here is that 20-minute focus on Ellis's climate change views and policies. And how did you see that exchange going, and what do you make of it all?
Well, I think that if there's the one unifying factor, it's that we all want to uh, protect what we believe in and where we see things heading. I think that when I took exception to when it was trivialized and my belief system was somewhat put into a political realm, because I've committed my life and 25 years of really dedication towards seeing things become more sustainable. So I see it as table stakes. I was uncomfortable when, even when Ellis and I were talking about it in front of the Vancouver Quilchena, Vancouver Point Grey ridings. It was, I got up after his time and just said, like, you're asking questions about the BC Liberals and Ellis is answering as Ellis. Just so you know, there are other opinions out there. There are other voices at the table, and it's going to be a journey to make sure that we build that unity moving forward. But I see the environment as table stakes at this point.
Renee, if someone was watching and undecided and obviously following the race, what is the moment from tonight that you're hoping they took away from it?
I would say that probably two come to mind right away. One is my rebuttal to Ellis, because I was upset. I did not upset. That's the wrong word. But I was passionate. I was emphatic. I am someone who has done a lot. I think talk is cheap, action is everything, and it is, govern me and judge me by what I do. And so I was really passionate about that. That answer is definitely something I'd love to highlight. But the second one is just my provocation at the end, right? Sideways, backwards, or forwards. And I hope that people heard that and really think that and think about that and take that to heart.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Renee. We're getting close to wrapping up, but I appreciate you popping in, and I hope that wherever you are tonight in Victoria, that you're with good folks and having a good time. And congratulations on another great debate.
Oh, thank you, and thanks, guys, for hosting this. So much fun. Thanks.
No worries.
Thanks, Renee. Now, I will say the next time that I am standing on the edge of a cliff, ready to jump off, I will say to myself, it's just like a political debate.
Just a minor political debate, yeah. Yes, I imagine the adrenaline is something to be seen for sure. So, McLean, wrapping up, anything else you want to say? It's that it really comes back to that 20 minutes on Ellis Ross and climate change. Yeah. I think
I think that's absolutely the story that'll be, the angle that is taken from this. If you're reading about this online tomorrow morning or even in one of the newspapers, if you still get paper, that'll be the angle. And I think rightfully so. I mean, it really stood out. It was surprising. It was jarring. And I mean, even just in terms of like a percentage of real estate in the debate, it took up just a much bigger chunk than you might have expected. And so I think it's completely fair to say that is probably going to be the first takeaway from this second debate.
Do you think it gets much attention from the media? It's been really hard to break through with the media on this race, but I'm hoping that as we get closer to the actual vote, that they'll be forced to pay attention. Can we do that?
I think that the floods and that will probably very sadly take away some of the attention this debate might have gotten. I mean, people are exhausted, and I know for a fact from talking to some other journalists today that they would have been covering this or even just tuning in, but they've been working 12, 14-hour days and are exhausted, and so it's a struggle. I mean, you're literally competing for airtime with a natural disaster. And I mean, you can't win.
Well, come on. Shirley Bond's working 12, 14-hour days. She's still tuned in, and she's
Yes,
on the
she is.
post-game show. Come on.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
I
come
mean,
on,
and
Keith
she was
Baldry.
quite
You
right
can
to
do it.
point out that this is like there are several more debates to go.
Yes.
So I mean, it's not like this was Game 7 in the Stanley Cup Finals. There's going to be more to come, and
No, you're right.
this was it was an interesting debate. It was, I mean, it's kind of like we said off the top. They've had 2 debates, and I've been surprised by 2 of them.
Yeah.
Which, you know, if you're listening to this, ask me right before the 3rd debate how I think it's going to go, and then that is exactly what will not happen.
Exactly. Let me just say, I'm intrigued enough to tune in for debate number 3, and I think you and I definitely enjoyed this enough that we'll do another Twitter Spaces after.
Oh, absolutely. This is a blast.
Yeah. So, folks, tune in tomorrow. McLean and I will be recording the BC Poly Hot Stove, where we will change our minds about everything we said here tonight because we'll have slept on it and come up with much better opinions.
Yes.
And you can get that, of course, at theorca.ca. You can subscribe to the Orca podcast as well. Just search for the Orca BC on your favorite pod feeder, and you get us. You get Unspun with Jody and George. You get the Business Beat with Bob Price, all that good stuff. And yeah, theorca.ca, and you can read McLean's stuff and a cadre of other great writers, including me, who is much overdue in presenting an article to McLean. So leave me alone, McLean. I've been busy.
Well, I mean, I feel buttered up like Ellis Ross was before before the shot started to get fired. And bless you for plugging my beautiful little site.
Yes, Ellis Ross. That was a great part of those questions to Ellis Ross. Ellis, you are a legend among men, a hero. I once saw you walk across the Fraser River. But let's talk about your. It was amazing. It was that was some kind of flattery. He must have been. It must have been quite the. It was just kind of funny.
He must have known.
He must have known
when it starts to get that flowery. You know that what's coming afterwards will not be fun. He must have been grimacing.
Exactly. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. Really appreciate it, and to the candidates and Shirley Bond, Mike Klassen, for chiming in. Always great to have you on board, and we will do this again sometime soon.
Good night, everyone.